I declare war. So yesterday I saw this article on the griot, and I want to talk about it today. I want to give people a couple of minutes to tune in. I don't regularly post over here the way I would like to. I plan to post more often next year, so look out for that. So I'm going to wait a couple of minutes for at least a couple of people to join before we get started. This will be a very brief hangout. I just wanted to highlight some of these comments that this guy out of Florida made, and I'm about to share my screen now. So let me go share my screen and then start with this commentary. Just bear with me 1 second. All right, so yesterday I saw this article on the griot, and it's about this Black Republican state representative from Florida who wants to protect Confederate memorials. Now, this will be included in the description box so that you all can check out this article for yourself. But this representative's name is Mike Hill. You know, he represents Pensacola, Florida. And this is what he's had to say about these Confederate symbols. You know, the first thing he said was that Confederate General Robert E. Lee is a gentleman. You know, he described him as a gentleman. He was a gentleman, a Christian, a man of valor who should be revered. Now, we're talking about a man who killed his countrymen in order to defend the institution of slavery, in order to defend oppression of Black people. In this Negro's mind, somehow this man is some kind of hero, some kind of gentleman, even though he was defending the right of white people to enslave our people. This tells you just how lost some of these conservatives are. Also, this man made some additional comments, you know, and I'll get to those in a second, but this representative is proposing a law that would make it illegal to remove these Confederate memorials, symbols, and names in Florida. He would like to make it a felony to intentionally damage such a memorial. Now, this is insane to me. You know, here we have symbols of oppression, symbols of slavery that this man wants to actually defend. Can you imagine a Jewish person defending the symbols of the Holocaust or the symbols of the Nazi regime? You would think that that person had lost their mind. But here we have this Negro right here defending symbols of hatred, defending symbols of oppression, defending symbols of slavery. Now, when we look at symbols, you know, these are things that are held in high esteem. And I'm going to go into a couple of other things that this guy said before I get into further commentary. He went on to say this. He said, "It will not change any person's life today by tearing down a Confederate monument or tearing down a statue or tearing down a cross. It will not change any person's life by doing that. What it will do is prevent someone from learning the history of why it was there in the first place." Now, first of all, you know, statues are symbols of honor. Like when people create statues, they are honoring the individual that they're creating a statue for. They're holding that person or that particular movement in high esteem by erecting a statue so everyone can look at that image and honor that image. Confederates don't deserve to be honored in this society. They simply don't. And that's what it's about. You know, when he brings up this thing about how it's not changing anyone's life, we have to understand that that is essentially a red herring. That is a straw man argument. No one is saying that these statues are affecting somebody's life right now. That's not the point. Those statues are a symbol of a society's values. It is a symbol of society's, you know, principles and stuff, attitudes. You know, it's a symbol of the things that the society holds dear and true. Now, no society should be celebrating symbols of oppression, symbols of racism, symbols of slavery. It's really that simple. Those symbols need to be taken down. And this whole thing about how when you remove those symbols, people aren't going to know about the history. They're not going to know all these things. That's preposterous. All you have to do is open a history book to learn these things. Go to a history class. People learn about the Civil War in grade school. They learn these things. You know, so you don't have to honor these people in order to learn about the horrible things that they did. We learn about Nazi Germany every day, but we don't have to have swastikas flying in the air here in the United States or elsewhere in order to learn about the horrors of the Nazis during World War II. We don't have to erect symbols of honor to learn about this stuff. All we have to do is open a history book. Those Confederate symbols belong in a library or a museum. They don't belong in public spaces to be honored and cherished. And whenever you have like regime change in the world, or evolution or revolution, the first thing that people do when they seize power is they remove the symbols of oppression, the symbols of the past. They remove those symbols. We saw this during the Iraq War, when the people were celebrating the end of Saddam Hussein's regime. They took down his statues and, his paintings and all that kind of stuff to mark the end of his era. And just like during the Cold War, after the end of the Cold War, people destroyed like the various symbols of that particular era. Like they took down statues of Stalin and Lenin and all that kind of stuff. They destroyed those statues because they no longer identify with the values of those statues and what they represented. And this society, a modern society, should not be holding these segregationists in high esteem. And we have to remember that when the civil rights movement was going on in this country, not that long ago, like 60 years ago, you had these racists. The first thing that they would do to rally people, to garner all their support, and as a symbol, they would take out these Confederate flags and use them as a rallying cry against the effort for civil rights. That's what they would do. So it's no coincidence that in a lot of these places where they erect these Confederate statues and images and stuff like that, these are places that were engaged in segregation against Black people. And when there were federal laws and cases designed to eliminate Jim Crow laws, these are the same people that defended their right to segregate against Black people by waving Confederate flags, by honoring these hate mongers throughout history. So we have to bear that in mind, man. We have to reflect on it. And it's a shame that you have people like this guy, this Coon from Florida. He is a disgrace to the Black race, and he should be ostracized in the Black community for even thinking of creating some law to make it a crime to remove these ridiculous symbols of oppression. This man should be ashamed of himself. He should be disgraced in the Black community. Now, it's one thing for somebody to be a conservative. We know that Black people are not monolithic like any other group of people. You have various schools of thought in various communities. That's one thing. But to become a traitor of your people, to portray your people and to defend racism and symbols of racism, that's going way too far. At that point, you have become an enemy of your people, a traitor of your people. And that's exactly what this clown is. He is an enemy of the people, and he should be ostracized and condemned for actually proposing this ridiculous idea. These symbols need to be taken down. When this guy defends these symbols, he is on the same side as those alt-right people who were in Charlottesville defending symbols of hatred. We can't forget that that's what brought those people to Charlottesville. They were defending Robert E. Lee statues and stuff like that in Charlottesville, Virginia. And yet you have this Negro on the same side of the fight as these racists and Nazis and Klansmen and stuff like that. The same people that have no respect for you. This guy reminds me of that buffoon that I saw at a parade. There's video footage. And when I get a chance, I'll post a link in a description box of this coon running around in a Confederate military uniform, waving a Confederate flag. I mean, these people have literally lost their mind. They are no different from the black people who used to wear blackface and make a complete fool out of themselves and out of their people. That's what these people remind me of. So yeah, I just had to share my thoughts about this because this is absolutely outrageous that you would have a Negro actually getting out here defending Confederate symbols. And this is not the first time. I mean, again, like I said, there's that Negro that was waving that Confederate flag and defends that flag. I saw something where you had this delusional black woman defending the Confederate flag. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the same woman that said, well, slavery was a choice. I mean, some of our people have completely lost their minds. You know, it reminds me of that saying from Khalid Muhammad when he talked about how we've lost our language, our culture, our religion, our God, and judging by the way some of us act, we even lost our minds. And these are prime examples of Negroes who have literally lost their damn minds defending these kind of symbols. And, you know, we saw Kanye West years ago selling Confederate symbols and stuff like that, making money off of that stuff. So a lot of our people are completely lost. They are in the sunken place. And this is just another example. So let me see what you all are saying before I sign out. You know, I want to thank people for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to this I Declare War channel, please do so. Support this channel. Like the video, share the video, hit the notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content. I do plan to post more regularly over here. So let's see what people are saying. Shout out to my man Water Sniper. Shout out to Sister. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's crazy. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Again, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for supporting this channel. I Declare War. Peace.